Hi, my name is Jamie Stone, and I am an Associate Professor of Education at Black Hills State University in Spearfish, South Dakota. I am also a Midwest and Plains Equity Assistance Fellow for the state of South Dakota. In this video podcast, I'm going to be visiting with Tamara Miyasato, who used to be a teacher at Pine Ridge High School, and now she works for Technology Innovations in Education, known as TIE, in Rapid City, South Dakota, and Savannah Gressa, who is a middle school teacher at North Middle School in Rapid City, South Dakota. We will be discussing the WoopeSakowin, which are 7 virtues of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota people, and how they have been used to promote culturally sustaining, revitalizing pedagogy in Rapid City area schools.
Why you owning, huh? Wo ohitike? Wachante oganake? Woksape? Wo want ushila? Wo wachithanka? Wo wachwalat? Yes, so Hamadaki Api. My name is Tamara Miyasato. I am Berewa Kantua Dakota, and I grew up on the Pine Ridge Reservation. I actually graduated from Red Cloud Indian School many, many years ago. Came back to Pine Ridge to teach at the high school, at Pine Ridge High School. And so I was teaching there sophomore English for 2 years. And I came to meet Savannah, who was also teaching at in Pine Ridge at the school, and she was actually my son's Lakota teacher for a time. So really honored to continue working with her. So a little bit of background again about the WoopeSakowin is it was really developed when I was a teacher at Pine Ridge High School, and it began as a classroom management tool, strategy, plan, what have you. And as I started using it in the classroom and the students were using it and we were learning together, it really turned into something else. And the beautiful thing about the 7 laws, that's WoopeSakowin translates to the 7 laws, is that they're really universal virtues And so when I talk to teachers like Savannah, we understand that she is already integrating a lot of Lakota cultural values into her teaching, into her classroom, and creating that community, that inclusive community where all students have a voice. And the WoopeSakowin it's just a way to make those practices intentional, make the students, help the students in understanding that we all have that, inherent goodness. We also have inherent, we make mistakes and things like that. So I'm not sure if you can see behind us, but in Savannah's classroom, she has the posters hung on the walls, the WoopeSakowin. So this is one of the graphics that I had put together for the classroom. The graphic itself, of course, represents many different things: the 7 council fires of the Ocheti-Sakowin, the 7 laws themselves. And when we talked about what we wanted this symbol to represent, it was really representing, the beginning, the white buffalo calf woman. She was the woman who gifted the Lakota people, our pipe and our ceremonies. And along with the ceremonies, she had given us, these ways of being, these laws. And so this of course represents, the light, but then this is also the water. And then the brown here is, the elements of earth. And then of course with the creation story, this universe here, we all started from nothing and things like that. So it's really encompassing of all of the beliefs. And then around that symbol then are the wo'ophe. And so you can really see how this is a tool that could be used in the classroom to be referenced back to. One thing I'd like to mention before I go through them is these translations are taken from a man named Virgil Kilstraight. Depending on your community, depending on the speaker, you may see different versions of the words. You may see different forms, noun forms versus verb forms. And these right here are the verbal forms. To be respectful, to have honor and courage. These translations and these spellings and sometimes pronunciations will differ depending on the community. The first one is the wowayu oniha, that is to have respect, to honor. Right here, wo ohitike, to be guided by principles, discipline, bravery, and courage. Wachante oganake, to help, to share, to be generous. Woksape, to have understanding and wisdom. Wo wan unshila, pity and compassion. Wo wachinkanka, patience and tolerance. And then wo wachwala, to be humble and to seek humility. In the course of several weeks in my classroom, we really took a lot of time to learn these virtues, to look at examples and to find ways to model them. And ultimately what we did and how we integrated them into our everyday workings was by aligning our classroom rules and expectations. So I'm just giving an example here of how we did that. So you'll notice here that a lot of these rules are mentioned and referenced a couple of times because they align themselves with more than one virtue. So one of the examples I always like to use is this no food or drink in class. Kind of got a lot of pushback on that one. Working in a high needs school, a lot of teachers provided kids with food, and it's not that I didn't do the same thing, but when we talked about ways of being in the classroom, some kids would come in the mornings with their breakfast or things, and they would want to eat in front of everyone. And our belief is when you have something, you share, and if you can't share with everyone, then that's really not one of the ways to be. So we really thought that went along with Wowayu Oniha, to have respect of our classmates and peers, but also to show compassion. Some of the classmates might not have had a meal, to sit there and have to watch somebody else eat without enough for everybody. It was really having students understand compassion, what it means to have compassion for your classmates. As you can see, it started off as classroom management, having a standard way of being and following expectations. But again, what it really turned into as it was this broad framework, this broad, again, way of being that integrated culturally responsive teaching. It integrated restorative justice in the classroom, and also, working with my kids who experience severe instances of trauma. All of this became so much more than classroom management, but again, ways to connect with students, ways to make their learning accessible to them, and really create that sense of community.
Hamadakiapi chante washtiana pechiusa piksto Savannah Gresseth amachapi. So my name is Savannah Gresseth. I grew up in Sisseton, South Dakota, Dakota country. For the most part, I am currently working at North Middle School for the Jobs for America's Graduates program, and also at General Beadle, where I teach second grade Lakota. So initially this year, we have like a chapter or a unit on values. And so at the beginning of the year, students were able to identify their values. They interviewed other classmates and what values they identify with, which values they find most important. And that's when I initially brought up Lakota values with my JAG students. I then went to a training, I guess, at South Dakota Indian Education Conference in Pierre, where I was able to meet up with Tamara and see the wonderful things and how she had laid it out and how she used it with her students. And it was kind of just like a sneak peek, and I really liked how she had laid it all out and her story of especially reaching out to one of her students. Chance, yes. Yeah, and the story was really touching. I then went to another training through the Thai office in town and was able to see it more in action. And that was really, really powerful, and to see what she's doing with culturally responsive teaching and how to implement it all into your classroom. At the time, we just started a book study called Lessons of the Lakota. And it's about this character named David, and our unit was on character development. So we went from values and it's a lot of what we were doing during that time was self-understanding and development. And so we were able to look at the character and how, like one of the questions was, how does wo'ohitike, or courage and bravery, affect character development, and what strategies can we use to keep going when things get hard, and different essential questions that we could keep tying into the WoopeSakowin. We spent a long time on the book study and being able to tie some of these values into our character development and what our character in the book was exhibiting, and really modeling it through the story. That was a huge part for us, and just like developing those positive character traits and how can we embody the WoopeSakowin when things get difficult in our lives, how we can model them themselves. I also during that time pulled a lot with our journal prompts, and how I try to embody some of these virtues, these values in my everyday life. And so I would model my journals and do think alouds. And so that would be modeling how to do the format for the journal, but also that personal connection that I have to these values. We've used them throughout our classroom. We've used them on our community service. So community service and what values we're exhibiting, having respect for our community, for our school, for our earth. We've also used having patience and telling others, hey, let's do something for our community with wo'ohitike and having that bravery to stand up and say, can you pick that up? Or we're doing this for our community, to have that bravery to make a stand and do something good. So we've also wachante oganake, and giving back. That our community service was us giving back to our community. I actually have a student here, when we did our career exploration unit, tie in, well, which value would go with these career clusters for the South Dakota My Life career clusters, and saying, well, a police officer or someone in law enforcement, their most important value will probably be wo'ohitike, to be brave, to have that fortitude. And he had, yeah, I'm talking about him and he doesn't even know, and he's with some stuff. But yeah, so we've been able to just incorporate them all throughout. Next year with Lakota language, I would love to use it more as a classroom management initially, and then build on it. But even with Jobs for America's Graduates, JAG, every day we're able to incorporate the WoopeSakowin. Every single day we're able to tie it in. And I speak Lakota to my children, or to my students, one and the same some days. And so I automatically and I organically and naturally integrate them into the classroom, just by trying to model it and show them how they can model it too. I say that I don't have them. They are beautiful pictures. They're gorgeous, but I don't have them up just because they're beautiful. But they are really guiding principles for our lives. And with JAG this year, it's been a lot about growing as human beings and self-understanding and kind of getting ready for that next step in their lives. And so they really paired beautifully with even just the class.
So what were some of the community service projects that your students were involved with?
So we did a lot, even around our school building. We did community cleanups. So our school cleanup right around Earth Day. We've had the opportunity to go to General Beetle, the local elementary school, and we helped clean out the community garden, and we got planting done. We did cleanup around their school grounds as well, local parks. Currently, they are finishing up some quilt squares that will be donated to this group. It's the Spirit of Heroism, where they present these quilts done by different students in the district to community members that have made huge impacts. So police officers, military, veterans, and firefighters. So they'll be honored with quilts that our students have helped make.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. So can you talk a little bit more about the gentleman that's in your room right now? Like, so just, I mean, like, what is school still on, or are you finished with school at this time?
So we have 2 days. It's kind of, so my 8th graders that are in here, they were just finishing up a few things, and they were helping me out with some shredding and some sorting. They actually missed their field trip this morning by like 5 minutes. Okay. so they're here. I'll have a 7th grade class today, and then we have an awards assembly this afternoon, and then tomorrow we will have our 8th grade recognition, and then whoever's left will for 8th graders will be here, but pretty much we're just wrapping everything up.
Okay, great, thank you. So how about you had mentioned using the WoopeSakowin earlier on for classroom management, perhaps next year, but have you noticed a difference in the, in students, not only behavior, but pride in themselves after introducing the 7 virtues?
Absolutely. I know, like, my 5th period, and I know Alexis could totally attest, is chatty. They can visit. the minute I bring up the WoopeSakowin, it like is silent. It's silent. And it's not like I'm not getting after them, but when I talk about it, they get really quiet. It's like this lull, and then it seems like we're like centered again. And they've even expressed like the want of learning Lakota now. So which excites me because I love the language.
I think that's really important because when my students were learning as well, it was that same excitement, that same eagerness to learn. And if there were some days when we didn't, or I forgot to put it in a prompt, or we forgot to talk about the wo'ophe, you know, I always had them on my walls. But my students would stop me and say, hey, you know, why haven't we done that in a while? Why haven't we talked about these in a while? And so it was one of those moments where it's just kind of like, wow, you know, that's when our kids become our teachers. And
Absolutely.
it's so beautiful. One of the things we're really excited about is I'm actually currently partnering, Ty is partnering with the Rapid City Area School District, and they're working on an initiative centered around cultural proficiency. And they're basically, you know, creating this whole child movement where they'll focus on the areas of culturally responsive teaching, trauma-informed practices, suicide awareness and prevention, and then restorative justice. And so we're going to be using the WoopeSakowin kind of as a foundation to pull all those things together. And so a lot of the teachers, and we're starting in Title I schools, and so this first year is really creating that awareness of issues surrounding those areas, those 4 areas, and training a lot more of the teachers in use of the WoopeSakowin. I know that there's been talk of sharing the laws, you know, with the community and sending, you know, information home with the family, so then it really becomes this district-wide practice. So that's some work that I'm really hoping to, you know, refer to Savannah and in help and sharing, you know, what she does, and just the amazingness that she brings to the classroom in her teaching to our kids.
That sounds and I'm just appreciative of the work that both of you are doing in making a difference in the school system. I am so thankful for you sharing your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you visiting with me via the wonders of technology. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.